Positive energy all the time. Good to see you all. Hope you're having a great day. Rep that city. Rep your city. Rep your city. Yes, indeed. Let's see what cities we have here so far. We got Fresno in the building. We got the Nap in the building, Indianapolis. Much love, Alexis. We got the NO in the building, New Orleans. Of course, everybody on Facebook, I'm representing the Windy City. Everybody on YouTube, I'm representing the Windy City. Everybody on Kick, I am representing the Windy City. Everybody on Twitch, I am representing the Windy City, aka Chicago. We got Texarkana in the building. We got Las Vegas in the building. We got Oakland in the house. We got New York in the building. Rep your city. We got Chicago in the building. You already know. It's all the way up. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. Rep your city. Rep your city. I see we got 44 people here. Come on in. Come on in. Run those likes up. Share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and support the channel. We have Miami in the building. Hello to all the beautiful ladies in Miami. Let's get it rocking and rolling. I covered that Diddy trial. It was a long live stream. Woo. But I covered it. He got all kind of special treatment. I've never seen anybody have able to show videos and all of that. There was a lot of special treatment. I thought was unfair to others. I didn't like that. I thought that was unfair. I thought that was unfair for him to have all that. In Suge Knight's case, they didn't let anybody come speak for him, but I guess different states, I guess, still they should have some of the basic same rules. I think Diddy has been a huge disappointment. We have San Jose in the building. We got La Jolla, California in the building, one of my favorite states in the whole world. Yeah, I thought they showed some favoritism to Diddy. That's my only beef with the whole process is favoritism. You know, I wouldn't care how much time he got. That's up to the court to decide. Um, but just treat everybody the same way. You know, give everybody the same. Treat everybody the same way. To me, this was like a slight slap on the wrist. We're gonna talk about that. I think he definitely had the powers that be supporting him. Kept his mouth shut. I'm not sure how long that'll last. If they'll trust him to continue to keep his mouth shut. If not, he's got a surprise coming. So we'll have to see how that turns out. I don't know why I'm getting that glitch in my live stream. Not sure what that's about. Hopefully it will go away. Ladies, I am making a presentation for all the beautiful ladies. And so send your pictures in to me. I'm going to make a nice introduction video and show your pictures. I feel like because I'm a man, I want to make sure the ladies get a lot of respect so that the channel is not just one-sided, male dominant. So ladies, I want to show you some love. Send your prettiest picture, your most beautiful pictures, your most sexiest pictures, whatever you prefer, whatever, as long as it's not too lewd, right? Whatever you prefer, ladies. Send your nice, beautiful pictures. And I'm going to put a nice little presentation together to all the beautiful women that have sent your photos. You look gorgeous. I'm just waiting to get a few more before I put the first presentation together. I will be adding your pictures as you send them. So the video presentation will get longer and longer and longer. As I get new pictures, you can send your pictures to PharaohElAton at yahoo.com. So I'm looking forward to you ladies sending some beautiful pictures. Don't put your name on the pictures. Your beauty is going to just be enough. And I'm encouraging every female to send these pictures. From the youngest females to the elders. So you grandmas and great grandmas out there, send your pretty picture with your pretty smile so I can show everybody how beautiful you are. So we're going to be doing that. So send your beautiful pictures to PharaohElAton at yahoo.com. So yeah, ladies, send those beautiful pictures. Sexy star, I'm looking forward to that beautiful picture, sweetie pie, so I can show all of my viewers how gorgeous you are. So yeah, send that to PharaohElAton at yahoo.com, and I'm going to put a nice presentation together for the ladies. I feel like the channel was too top heavy, masculine, so let's get some beauty over here, get some women over here. So as you know, Diddy got basically 4 years, 4 years and a couple months. He'll be out probably in 2 years. And it definitely was a little bit of favoritism by his presentation and things like that. Uh, whether what he got is fair or not, that's in the eye of the beholder. But how it looks to me is that they locked him up all that time and didn't let him out to see if he would keep his mouth quiet. I personally believe that there's a lot more to that. I personally believe when they raided his home, they found a lot more evidence than what was presented. I personally believe there was a lot more people than was told, and I personally believe that what they showed us was not a freak off. I do not believe 3 or 4 people was a freak off. I believe a freak off was a lot more people than that. And the names have been hidden to protect the guilty. So I do not believe that was a freak off. I think that's one reason people believe that he should have been just let go, because people had a preconceived notion of a freak off. And then when you just seen 3 people, you're like, nah, let him go. This is not it. But the reality is, it was a lot worse than we know. It might have been some blackmailing going on. And so they had to do a little straightening. Uh, the situation with Casey in the hotel in the hallway. What was she trying to run off with? So I believe it was a lot more than meets the eye. And he was given a slap on the wrist and a small punishment based on him keeping his mouth shut, though. So I think he kept his mouth shut and he escaped some serious problems. Now, he hasn't totally escaped until he walks out of prison alive, which who knows how much is involved and who knows what's really going on. But for sure, there was a lot more than meets the eye. He did keep his mouth shut. I got to give him props. He kept his mouth shut. He didn't roll over on anybody else. He stood up, took it like a G, because I'm absolutely sure he could have negotiated. I'm absolutely sure he could have gave some people up and walked away scot-free early. Early. I'm pretty sure he could have went to the authorities and started talking as soon as they raided his homes before he was even arrested, and could have cut a deal where his name would have been kept quiet and a lot of other people would have been grabbed. I'm absolutely sure that it was clear that it was more to this situation than meets the eye. And I just wanted to make this short live stream for the record that Diddy kept his mouth shut, and that is the reason he didn't get that much time, and it's probably the reason he's still alive. Not sure if he'll remain alive. That's another question for another day. And we have to watch and see how much leaked, how much people are afraid, how many big time enemies he has in the closet, and all that. But he definitely bit off a little more than he could chew. And he has to walk real softly right now. He has to be very careful. He went too far. I don't know what made him think to go into that business. Well, I know it was the money, because what I think he was doing was worth at least a couple billion. He could have made a couple billion. If he was on the dark web, yeah, he could have made a couple billion doing that. High level uh, underground entertainment like that could cost you $1 million just to sign up to see it. Just to be a subscriber to what I believe he had going on would cost you at least $1 million. Depending on what they were doing at a higher level with a bigger celebrity, could cost you about 10 mil to view. You have sheiks and princes and kings and royalty around the world that's got money to burn. 100 million is nothing for them to enjoy their fetishes. And that's the business I believe he was in, because he never was active in anything but recording. And from gathering, They was in one room and he was be in another room, which sounds like a recording. And he would be giving instructions: do this, do that. No, now, do it now. He would tell the man, now. So I was definitely, uh, he was shooting footage. The He might have got in trouble for beating up Cassie in the hallway, depending on who was on that floor days before. Meaning, if there was a whole bunch of people on that floor day before, they had certain footage. Everybody checks out. He's still there cleaning up, getting ready to go. Cassie grabs the secret footage, tries to get out. He kind of loses it, beats her up. Now there could be an investigation. If they look at the footage, there's no telling who they could see that was there hours before or days before. And that's just my theory that they had to delete that entire 3 or 4 days of footage. And whichever security used their phone to copy the footage they did copy might not be safe. I'm sure there's probably people want to talk to that person to see how much more did you look at, or maybe not talk to them at all, just kind of hit the delete button. I don't think that guard understood, what he was getting himself into, uh, because I could have been a detective and clearly the scene with him beating Cassie up, there was nobody on that whole floor. They had all checked out. They had all checked out, and that whole floor was rented. That whole floor was rented. Everybody had went home except them, and clearly it seemed that was the end of the event. He might have been lagging around to do some editing or still on the dark web. Who knows? But for sure, I am very suspicious of what she was stealing. And I believe that's why he was that angry. I don't believe he was that angry because of drugs or anything like that. I believe he was that angry because of what she was stealing. That's what I believe. That what she was stealing is millions and millions of dollars. And it's also a lot of people's information that, if it gets out, could put him in danger. So that's why he was so angry, and he kept his mouth shut. I got to give it to him. I got to give him. I got to give Diddy his props. He kept his mouth shut. He kept his mouth shut. He didn't talk. He didn't snitch. He didn't incriminate all the others that I believe were involved. And that's why I got to say, I believe. I have no proof, but I suspect. He kept his mouth shut. And he didn't expose all the others that I believe were involved, for sure. And he's very lucky. He's very lucky. Diddy is very, very lucky to be alive, I believe. I believe he's very lucky to be alive. Mm, because it's some unusual characters like this person. This is not no, he's not no trainer. He's not, this guy is something else. The judge was a problem. The judge wasn't no problem. The judge did what he was told to do. The judge did what he was told to do. You, you know, what the sentencing compared to that judge, that clearly was not that judge's sentencing. And, just reading about him and knowing about him, that judge surely would have gave him 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. And there's a reason, you know, there's a reason that that judge did not uh, give him more time. Okay, it's a reason. It's a reason. Okay, we're talking big, big money, and we're talking, very dangerous situation, high power uh, people. I personally believe that, even the fact is Casey, I believe her whole career was designed to raise uh, her price for the dark web, make her a star. You could charge more, and I'm sure there was other stars involved. Okay, like if I'm shooting something for the dark web and I just got some Joe Schmo, I might could charge $200 or $300 for you to look at it if it's some crazy underground stuff. But if I have celebrities, I could charge $1 million for you to be overseas to see certain things. I could charge a lot. I don't have to worry about you exposing it because you wouldn't want anybody to know you were a viewer. So it would definitely be done between people that keep their mouth shut. We talking the type of crimes that basic working people would have no idea. When you get into sex, it gets heavy. It's highly, highly illegal. Um, it's a lot if you want to see animals involved. You can only imagine how much it is for the sickos that have children involved. You can only imagine how much you would have to pay to see that. Um, you would have to look in this. I don't know what I can say on YouTube and what I can't, but let me see if YouTube could do this. So I don't have to say anything. But if you wanted to see certain things, it could cost you a lot. You know, you could pay some millions to see that. Mm, I should do a Patreon and try to see. They might even ban me if I listen. If I went into what I know about that kind of stuff, maybe even Patreon wouldn't even. I don't think there's nobody would let me tell it in the raw. I don't think nobody would let me tell y'all uh, what I could tell you. But it's dark. It's extremely dark, even to the point of, could I say extraterrestrial? Not extraterrestrial. What would you call uh, mythological creatures? So it's even to that level of like vampires and like that. There's even those type of films uh, involving beings that you would say don't exist, because that's the secret. What they don't tell you about vampire, they don't really get into that part of it. They just make you think it's just somebody just biting somebody. No, it's way more than that. Okay, it's way more gruesome and way more darker than that. You know, if you look at, if all you gotta do is go look at like a lot of the Dracula movies and see how nice his stagecoach was and how much money he had. You know what I'm saying? And he's basically a jet setter. You know what I mean? He's basically a jet setter. So when you go to these certain parties, you know, there's a party, and then there's people there that could take you to another party, and then there's people at that party that could take you to another party, and then there's people at that party could take you to a whole nother scene. You know, it's if you go to the high level parties, those is just like introduction spots, like where you would go for application for like a job application, and then from there, it gets uh, yeah, JD, pretty much like the rich parties, but like way, way darker. You know what I'm saying? And I think, okay, let's say you got level one, right, which is the party for the rich. That would just be level one, the basic Diddy party. Then level two would be like the freak off. Then there's a level three that would be more gruesome. Then there's a level four that you would not be able to even come to that. You would have to really, rub some elbows and mm, have to be vetted. Vetted is the word. You would have to be vetted to see if you had the stomach for it. Uh, you would have to be somewhat. You could be sociable. You have to be somewhat anti-sociable. You can't be and you would have to get like government type clearance to go to certain events. Like even when you're in the streets, like when I was in the streets, and you with a crew or whatever, and you got the street level hustlers. Then you got the ones like me that's the highest level on the streets. Then you got the next level, which would be my supplier. Then you got their supplier, right? And then you got the original plug, the international plug. And each one of those levels have parties. And you won't get invited to that party that your connect, the type of parties your connect go to, you won't be invited. You would have to really be vetted before you would get invited to that party. You would almost have to commit an M for somebody or something like that before you would, you know, be allowed to meet certain people. And so now you're around police and agents and politicians, and you're thinking, this ain't the little police, this the big police. And you can't ask no questions. So you can't ask any questions. You just have to uh, socialize. But you can't ask questions. You can't talk unless you are spoke to, and you can see who knows each other, and you don't know them. You don't know them, and you're not supposed to know them. They have to introduce themselves. You cannot introduce yourself, and it's weird and very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And a lot of times when you get to the really big money and the really crazy stuff, uh, you get into the occult. They have like weird fetishes. Like I knew a lady, uh, I met a lady, and like she had a pet lion. She'd be driving in a little bitty convertible with the lion just sticking all about the car. And she was a prostitute on that level. And she would do things like she would get paid like, $10,000 and get a letter, and the letter tells her, come to this address, come to this door, walk in this door, go upstairs, walk in the back, and come in the bathroom. And she say, she go in, she walk in a place, nobody's in there. She go upstairs, she walk all the way down the hall in the bathroom. She walk in, there's nothing there. It's a bathtub full of water, and like a dude jump out the bathtub and scare her. Pay her 10 grand just to scare her. And other things she was doing, I don't think I could say over here, but very, like a lot of these women that's going to Dubai, they're not really telling you everything. They telling you some of the gross stuff. I know you heard about them eating certain things, but it's worse than that. It's way worse than that. I know somebody went to a party, and and they kept talking about dinner, dinner, dinner. And when he kept looking in the kitchen, and they kept talking about dinner's almost ready and dinner, but nobody, he said nobody was cooking or nothing, right? So he thinking maybe they gonna cater or something. And then they said, okay, dinner's ready, but then they went upstairs. And when they went upstairs, they opened the door, they had a big table, and then a guy rolled a lady out, and they picked her up and put her on the table. So he had a panic attack. He started freaking out, and he left. Now he said he didn't know if she was alive or not, but he had a panic attack, and started fainting and kind of and stuff. And so they had to take him downstairs, and they couldn't call no ambulance or nothing like that because this is some type of weird situation, and they had to uh, get a chauffeur to take him home. He had to go back and get his car like the next day. He said, I couldn't even drive. He said because he said, Pharaoh, man, it just wasn't right. He said, I can't say what it was because he said he don't know, but just the vibe of the people. And then when they rolled the lady in there and put her on the table and they had all these plates and stuff, he passed out. So he don't know if she was just gonna get up, if it was a gag or whatever. But he said he didn't feel like that. He felt his stomach got upset. He got dizzy. He felt he had to sit down. He had to go. He had to go. He said he was shaking like a leaf. This is a strong dude too. Like this dude is like, nah, no, this ain't no soft dude. This like a dude that's really super masculine. He said, man, I was shaking like a leaf. He said it was the. He said, man. He said it was the most scariest thing he ever seen. He'd been in wars and stuff. He said, man, I've been in a battle. I've been. I think he was over in the Middle East. He said, so I've been, but he said this right here. He said it was. He said. Well, I think the word he used was spooky. It drove his heart rate up. He was just panicking. He says he was kind of all right. He just was tripping where the food was. But he said when everybody started going upstairs, he said it was just they was acting weird. You know what I'm saying? When everybody was going upstairs, he said it was acting really weird. And then when they opened that door and went in there and he seen the big table, he was like, oh, this is nice. You know what I'm saying? It was a big old table. And he said, but when that door opened and they rolled that lady in there with all the, just like you do a turkey, with all the trimmings around there and stuff, he got sick. He was like, he don't know. He don't know if it was just like if she was gonna get up, if it was a part of the party. And he was like, it wasn't the lady that made him sick. It was the people. He said they was like they vibe. He said they vibes was monstrous, kind of like. So he said that's what scared me. He said if it wasn't for the way they was acting, I could have waited to see if she was gonna get up, if it was a gag or. But he said the way they was acting when we went up them stairs or went in that room, he said that's. He said all his senses. You know what I mean? Like his senses of danger. And he had a panic attack. Said he never had a panic attack ever in his life before the or after that. He don't have panic attacks. So he couldn't breathe. And even he said the way they dealt with him, they got like somebody worked there to deal with him. Everybody else was still just like stone face. Nobody was like, "Oh, can we get nothing? Get you some help?" No, the butler and the workers got him and took him out of there. The people stayed up there. Nobody from the party or nothing helped him. The Some other people that was in the building took him downstairs, helped him, and got out of there. He said the person who party wasn't all them. They never, they never said nothing. They never came out the room or nothing. Nobody that he had been with that night so far came. It was all the strangers that like worked in the kitchen or wherever. I said, "Man, are you kidding?" He said, "Man, that was the scariest thing in my life." He said, "Man, I ain't never been that scared." He said, "Man," he said, "Pharaoh, man, I ain't sleep for like," he said, he didn't sleep for like, he didn't sleep good for like 11 days or something. He said like 11, 12 days. I remember it was more than 10 days. It was like 11 or 12 or 13 days, something like that. He didn't sleep. It wasn't no 2 weeks, but it was almost, I said, "For real?" He's like, "Nah, I will fall asleep and wake up, fall asleep and wake up." He said he had to have his woman come by and he said my woman came by, was taking care of me, and they almost broke up because wouldn't tell her nothing because she wanted to know where he was at and all that. And he said, "Man, I was so scared I ain't say nothing, man." He like, "I ain't gonna even tell you where it was at or none of that." You know what I'm saying? I never, you know, I'm just telling you all that to be like, yeah, it's ain't no telling how close Diddy was to that type of behavior. Because they got that stuff they rub on them, that the witches rub on them, where they think they flying and all that. They had all kind of stuff, man. It's really dangerous out here. And so Diddy done seen some stuff, trust me. I don't know if it's up to that level yet, but I believe he was almost there. I believe he was almost there. I believe he's seen some stuff. Because he was kind of strong. A lot of them go crazy, like Justin Bieber and a lot of them, they go crazy. And they just can't come back around no more. You go crazy before you even get to that level. And there's a lot of different incidences that's like that. Not just the party scene, but the violent scene is like that too. The violent scene is like that too. When you get to people, that's out doing crimes and stuff, and they want to unalive people, and you a worker for them, and that gets crazy too. You know, almost everything uh has like these dark goes to the dark side. Just about everything. Sports, movies, the streets, uh, prison. They don't be telling you what be going on in them prisons. I'm trying to tell you, it's like a lot of that stuff goes straight to hell, basically. Crime too. That's why a lot of people get out of crime. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people get out of crime. It get real crazy. Like you got, you know what I'm saying? When Al Capone and them was warring, they said these hitmen, they stayed in Detroit. And there was this one group of hitmen, they stayed in a hotel in Detroit. And it was said that they couldn't contact them. They went up there to contact them, sent two gangsters up there to contact them to come down to Chicago and do a hit. And they said when they went in, not a hotel, like a boarding room, right? Because back then, you know, in the Roaring Twain, stuff like that, they would have a place like a bunch of apartment buildings, but they would just be boarding rooms. It wouldn't be apartments. It would be a bunch of rooms that you could rent, right? But it's an apartment building, but it wasn't rented out like apartments. It was rented out three days or a week like that, right? This was big back in the 20s, 30s, like that. Even I think up to the 40s. So they went to get this hit man. And they say when they went in the building, it just smelled bad in the whole building like that. And when they got to this guy's one apartment, it's like it was just unbelievable how it smelled in there. And then when they went to see this guy, he had like blood all over him. And they was like terrified of him. And it was like, just come down, do the hit, and get the hell out of here. Like even the biggest gangsters, like Al and them, was terrified of this dude. Because he was like a serial, now he was worse than a serial killer. He was like a psychopath or the next level. But they said the whole place smelled like death, the whole building, especially when you got up to his floor. So even these gangsters, they was spooked. Because a lot of times a lot of people think that gangsters was the hitmen. No, you had the gangsters was just gangsters. Then you had the hitmen. Those are two different professions. Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And Diddy had got high up there on that level. Diddy was all the way there, really, like he was high up there. You know what I'm saying? He was showing everybody, but people try to act like they didn't see it. He was showing it, but you had to know what you was looking at. You know how crazy you got to be to look at this picture and shoot this picture until you. Luca Brasi was one of them. He was, yeah, yeah. He was, nobody liked being around him. And you had him like that. It's like it becomes an addiction, and you become uh, unhuman, basically. A lot of butchers end up like that from being in the slaughterhouses, walking in all that cow blood and pig blood. They, they become a little crazy. Just imagine. You know, the average meat eater has no idea what the slaughterhouses is really like. We had one of the biggest slaughterhouses in America was in Chicago, over on Halsted, where the amphitheater was at. When I was a kid and we used to go to the amphitheater to see concerts, the whole area smelled like death. I swear to God, y'all, the whole area smelled like death. over around the Chicago amphitheater. It was on Halsted and 42nd Street. I seen the Ozzy brothers over there. And the worst thing, because the slaughterhouse was over there. Men used to wear rubber boots because it'd be like half a foot of blood that they had to walk in. Like, seriously. And that whole area, I don't know how people lived over there. That whole area smelled like death. The only time you don't smell it when you get inside the concert, when you get in there. But as soon as you come out of there, you could smell it. That whole part of Chicago. This was my childhood. We used to go over there to see concerts. I seen War over there, War with Bloodstone and the Funkadelic before the Funkadelics became Parliament. I seen the Funkadelic was the warm-up group, and then Bloodstone, and then the main act was War. When they're slipping into darkness and the world is a ghetto with the white dude that played the harmonica. And every time we would go over there, we shorties. Like, I think I'm like a freshman. And as a matter of fact, even when I was younger, my mother and them took us over there to see the Jackson 5 because they would have Operation Push. Jesse Jackson, Operation Push, and he would throw these concerts, right? Funeral workers be crazy too. I guess I could tell a story, get off track a little bit. So I used to be in the streets hustling. I don't talk about this much because I'm trying to get my book out. And then when the book come out, this channel's going to go through the roof. But anyway, I used to be hustling. I used to serve him. And I don't want to say his name and stuff. I got to find out if he's still over there. But his father ran a funeral home. And he worked at the funeral home. And I used to go serve him over there at the funeral home. And I would go in there and I would be taking him a package of some white stuff. And it would be all the bodies in there, right? You know, it would be the bodies and stuff in there. And, you know, I had like business cards with my name and my 2 beeper numbers. See, this is how you go to prison. I never went, but I was stupid enough to go. Because I don't know. I had business cards, right? I had both of my numbers. I had 2 beeper numbers. If you don't hear from me in 2 or 3 minutes, hit this other number. And you have to put in 007. And I went over there and served him one day. And he went home and he did the stuff and he had a heart attack. He had a heart attack. The ambulance came. He had my business card. He had all the powder on the living room coffee table thing. He didn't die. I don't think Archie Bunker's son had passed away yet, so they hadn't passed that law where if you die, if somebody died, you served them, you could get the murder case. But that fool almost died. Because he would just keep doing the stuff and doing the stuff and doing the stuff. I don't know he doing it like that. I gotta drive over there and see if he's still over there. I gotta drive over there and see if he's still over there. And if he's still over there, and he will, and the book come out, I might go ahead and bring him in live and we'll talk about it. So like I didn't hear from him for a long time. And then one day he hit my beeper and I called him back. He's like, what's going on? I didn't know. Tough woman. I didn't know none of that happened. He hit me like about 3 weeks later. He's like, what's up, Ramesses? I'm like, what's up? He said, man, I almost died. I said, what? He said, I had that stuff, man, right? I had that stuff and I kept on, man. I was at the house and I had a heart attack, man. And all the stuff was on the table and your card and all that. But I wouldn't have heard nothing. My door would have just got kicked down because I didn't know. He didn't tell me he went to the hospital and all of that. He ain't gonna tell me I'm gonna call you like in about a week or two. I said, no, you not, bro. You're not finna call me, bro. It's time to quit. You know, you're gonna be in one of your daddy's coffins. He worked for his daddy. But just and I thought about it because I was like a demon. I was a devil, right? That's what my book is about. You know, I was this angel and then I was this devil. And I was a devil. Seriously. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I don't know how my queen didn't put up with me. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I didn't, nothing. And I'm serving in a funeral home. Dark, dark, mean, like a devil. And I was so evil and I was so dark that if somebody ran off with money, they would get me to go collect it. Because you know how like you the big bad guy and then you super bad and then somebody out of line, they send the bad guy to go get the money. I wasn't the bad guy. I had so much evil energy coming off of me that when I would go to collect the money, they would always give it to me. I never had to shoot anybody or nothing because my energy was so dark that everybody was afraid of me. I was that dark. That I didn't have to, I never had to unalive nobody because all I had to do was tell you I'm unalive you, and everybody believed it. You know what I'm saying? I'm so glad to be kind of back. Everybody believe. Can you believe that? Like seriously, like everybody believed me. I never had to do anything, just threat. You know, they tell you if you don't make no threat, right? You know what I'm saying? Real talk, they tell you don't make no threat or don't pull nothing out on nobody unless you don't use it. I used to do it all the time, pull it out on everybody. And nobody did nothing. All they did was pay whoever they owed. I was dark as hell. And that's why I was in a position where if I didn't change, I would have been able to see some of this stuff Diddy saying. That's the direction. The world that I believe he was in, that's the direction I was headed. Because I had already been introduced to a cartel member that is so dark. Nobody got to tell you that's the cartel. Nobody listen. Nobody has to tell you dude is in the cartel or dude is in the mafia. Like you could see it. They're not like normal people. They're not. This is when you get into us vampires. I swear to God, man, if you meet a cartel, right, or a mafia, the whole energy is not like nobody you ever met. You could tell. I guess because there's so many people they unalived. Serious. It's like not it's not like you meeting a human being. So see, that's what I'm saying, the level to where you get the vampires and monsters. That's where you be headed. To like monster, vampire, demon. That's where you be headed. Like seriously, y'all. That's why you stay out of that. And if you low level, you become a victim of the monsters and the demons. So if you're a woman, a young woman, and you run around here hoeing and prostituting, you're going to end up in the clutches of monsters. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And these people, they don't laugh. They don't have fun. That's why the relationship I had when I was dark like that, that's why that relationship failed. The picture of me on the bus and in California, that's like 1988, 89. That's like right before I get stabbed. Like about maybe a year and a half or something, maybe 2 years, somewhere in there. That's when I was still on the angelic side. But when I got on the dark side, I didn't. I turn on a comedy show. I just be looking at it like this. That's how I got this. See, it won't go away. You know I'm not frowning, right? I'm not frowning. So after I went through all that, tried to change, my queen, she thought I was mean all the time. She said, "You always frowning." I'm like, "I'm not frowning." You know what I'm saying? Look at that. It won't go away. I'm not doing nothing. My face is relaxed. See this? And see when I relax? See? And when I relax, look. That's how mean I was. It won't go away. They said I could go and like they'll put some Botox on. Like I don't bow and I don't tox. You know what I'm saying? It won't go away. So it's like people be thinking I'm mad at them. If I'm looking in your direction, you thinking I'm mad, and I'm not even looking at you. I might be just thinking off into space, but you looking at me, and it looks like I'm looking at you. So it's really, really dark. So this is the type of energy Diddy was around. This really dark energy. He was around some real dangerous stuff. Yeah, it's a permanent crease. It won't. You know what I'm saying? At one time, it was so bad, my nerves started going bad over here, and his eyes you start twitching. So I had to like massage it. You know what I'm saying? Because my eye had started. The nerve was going bad over here from the strain. The muscle probably was going bad. I'm telling all this because once you do that and you go, now you're going into the dark side, just like numbers. You got zero, then you got one, two, three, four, five, then you got zero, then you got minus one, minus two, minus three. And once you go minus one, you could go three, four, five to minus 100. And every minus is bad. And you end up going into a world you don't want to go in, like a very dark world. And this is what happened to Diddy. That's what happened to Diddy. That's what happened to Michael Jackson. And when you go over there, it's bad. You know what I'm saying? Diddy will never be the same. He ain't gonna be able to. He might be able to get back to half and half, but the things he done seen, man. So that's why they might leave him alone because he could have really. Well, it wouldn't have did him no good to talk because if he would have talked, they would have Jeffrey Epsteined him. Which, when I say Jeffrey Epstein, it could be two things. They might pretend you unalived and take you out in the middle of an island somewhere and you live out there, or be unalived because nobody really know where Jeffrey is. Jeffrey might not be unalived, but he has to be out of commission. He cannot be in society. If he's not unalived and he try to get in society, he gonna be out of here. They gonna get rid of him because you know too much. And so Diddy, you know, he stand ups so far. He didn't say nothing. He took it on the chin like a G. I give it to him because anybody know Diddy had nothing to do with none of that stuff. And Diddy was low level demon. I mean, he was working his way up, but this was way bigger than Diddy by far. You know what I'm saying? This was way, 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 way bigger than Diddy. He just took one for the team. Casey, on the other hand, is in a lot of trouble because she done exposed something. Her and Jane Doe, they talk too much. That's who the underground don't like. They ain't got no problem with Diddy, but Jane Doe and Cassie, they in a lot of trouble. That's why the third lady didn't show up. She's like, hell no. It was another lady that showed up after the fact of the matter, been talking recently. She said, man, But Casey, they already got her. She's already with they got her. She ran out of the frying pan into the fire. This is not a nice guy, and this is not a husband. Not at all. Jail time is not what saved him. What saved him, keep his mouth shut. Keep his mouth shut is what saved him. He had to take one for the team. He had to fall on the sword for everybody else to save everybody else. They're gonna take care of him if they trust him, and if they don't believe he'll ever flip and ever open his mouth, they're gonna take care of him. The question is that what's the case is? Are they afraid of him still, or do they trust him? And we won't know that for about 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And if he's still around, 5, 6, 7 years, then they trust him because he know too much. But as of right now, they trust him because he didn't say nothing. He didn't even get on the stand, man. That's his gangster right there. I got a lot of respect for Diddy, even though he's a creep. On the street side, I got a lot of respect for Diddy. Because Diddy Mama and Diddy Daddy was some gangsters, and he stood on business. Even though it was foul or whatever, I got a lot of respect for Diddy as far as on the street side. Because he kept his mouth shut.